Hey there, coin enthusiasts and treasure hunters. Have you ever looked at a quarter and thought, it's just 25 cents? Well, buckle up because today we're diving into a coin story that could turn your pocket change into a goldmine. That's right, we're talking about the 1965 Washington quarter that's making waves in the market. And, spoiler alert, some of these bad boys are worth up to $1 million. Yes, you heard me right. $1 million for a quarter. Let's crack this mystery wide open. Now, before we get into the juicy details, let me set the stage. Picture this, it's the mid-1960s. The Beatles are on the radio, bell-bottoms are all the rage, and the US Mint decides to change the composition of quarters from 90% silver to a copper-nickel blend. Why? Silver prices were skyrocketing, and the government needed to cut costs. So, starting in 1965, silver quarters were officially a thing of the past. Or were they? Here's where it gets exciting. A small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver blanks from 1964. These rare, silver, 1965 quarters are what's causing all the buzz. Imagine stumbling upon one of these in your old coin jar. That's like finding a golden ticket, but instead of Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, you're getting a ticket to financial freedom. Okay, so how do you know if you've got one of these silver gems? First, check the edge of the coin. Most 1965 quarters have a copper core, so you'll see a distinct copper band on the edge. But if the edge is pure silver, no copper band in sight, you might be holding a silver 1965 quarter. Another tip? Weigh it. A standard copper-nickel quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, while a silver quarter comes in at 6.25 grams. A small difference, but in the coin world, it's massive. Now, here's a little story for you. A friend of mine, let's call him Dave, was cleaning out his late grandfather's attic when he stumbled across an old coffee can filled with coins. At first, he thought it was just a bunch of loose change. But as he started sorting through it, he noticed a 1965 quarter that looked a little different. Long story short, Dave took it to a coin dealer, had it authenticated, and, drumroll, please, it turned out to be one of the rare silver quarters. The final auction price? $45,000. Not quite $1 million, but hey, that's a pretty sweet payday for a quarter. Speaking of auctions, let's talk about the market value. These rare 1965 silver quarters have been known to fetch anywhere from tens of thousands to over $1 million, depending on their condition and the buyer's interest. Coin collectors and investors go wild for these because of their rarity and historical significance. It's like owning a little piece of American history, except this piece could pay off your mortgage. So, what should you do if you think you found one? First, don't spend it. Seriously, don't be the person who accidentally uses $1 million coin to buy a soda. Next, have it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll verify if it's the real deal and give it an official grade, which can significantly impact its value. Finally, consider reaching out to auction houses that specialize in rare coins. They can help you get the best price for your treasure. Alright, folks, that's the scoop on the 1965 Washington quarter that's worth its weight in, well, not quite gold, but definitely silver. Who knew something so small could be worth so much? If you've got a coin jar lying around, it might be time to do some treasure hunting. And if you're as fascinated by these stories, yes, you heard me right, millions of dollars. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of the 1972 Washington quarter. Could one of these coins hiding in your piggy bank turn your life into a rags to riches story? Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for and how to spot a fortune right in your pocket. What makes the 1972 Washington quarter so special? First off, not every 1972 quarter is worth a fortune, but some rare errors in high-grade specimens have turned ordinary pocket change into extraordinary bank accounts. Here's the deal. During the minting process, sometimes the dies, those are the tools used to stamp the designs on coins, get a little, let's say, creative. For example, look out for doubling on the lettering or the numbers. It's called a double die error, and it's like the coin's signature of rarity. Grab a magnifying glass and check Liberty or the date 1972 for signs of doubling. If it looks like the letters are shadow dancing, you might be onto something big. Here's a personal story to make it real. A few years back, I was helping a friend clean out her old coin jar, you know, the one that's been sitting on the kitchen counter for decades. As we sorted through the quarters, nickels, and dimes, I spotted a 1972 quarter that seemed different. After some research and a quick trip to a coin shop, it turned out to be worth over $1,200. Not quite the $1 million jackpot, but still, not bad for something she almost spent on a vending machine snack. Now, if you're thinking, okay, but how does this turn into millions? Here's the kicker. Coins in mint condition, the ones that look like they've been in a time capsule, can fetch jaw-dropping prices at auctions. One particularly rare 1972 quarter with an extraordinary error sold for over $2 million. That's right, someone's pocket change became their ticket to financial freedom, but even if your 1972 quarter isn't museum-worthy, don't lose hope. Quarters with mild errors or in great condition can still sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. The key is to get your coin authenticated by a professional grading service. Think of it like getting your treasure map verified by a pirate. You want to make sure X marks the spot. Now, let's talk strategy. Start by checking every quarter you come across. Got a jar of old coins at home? Dive in. Visit yard sales, flea markets, or even ask your grandparents if they have a stash of loose change lying around. Trust me, they'll be thrilled you're interested in their old junk. And don't forget to protect any potential treasures you find. Store valuable coins in a protective holder to avoid scratches. Every little ding can knock down the value, and nobody wants to lose a payday because of a careless toss into a drawer. Alright, coin enthusiasts, it's time to grab those magnifying glasses and start your treasure hunt. Who knows? That next quarter you find could be your golden ticket, or silver, in this case. You stumble upon a coin that could make you a millionaire. Sounds like a dream, right? Well, today, we're talking about the 1979 D. Washington quarter. Yep, that humble little quarter sitting in your drawer might just have the potential to change your life. Stick around because I'll tell you exactly why this coin is worth a closer look and how it's turning heads in the market right now. And trust me, you'll want to hear the story of how one lucky guy struck gold, or, should I say, struck silver, with this very coin. The 1979 D. Washington quarter isn't your average piece of pocket change. First off, let's break down what makes this coin special. Back in 1979, the Denver Mint produced millions of these quarters. But here's the kicker, some of them came out with errors or unique features that collectors absolutely love. And when collectors love something, you know what happens. The value skyrockets. One of the key things to look for on this coin is the mint mark. The D under Washington's portrait tells you it was made in Denver. But the real jackpot is in the details. Look for double die errors, which is when the coin's design looks slightly doubled. It's like the coin had too much coffee and got a little jittery during production. These errors can make a massive difference in value. Coins with clear doubling on the lettering or the year can fetch thousands, even millions, at auctions. Now, let me share a story. A friend of mine, let's call him Dave, was cleaning out his attic when he found an old coffee can filled with quarters. He almost tossed it out, thinking, what's the big deal? But then he remembered my constant ramblings about valuable coins. He decided to check each quarter, and lo and behold, he found a 1979 D quarter with a rare minting error. After getting it authenticated, he sold it for a jaw-dropping $50,000. Imagine that. Cleaning out the attic paid better than his 9 to 5 that month, but wait, there's more. Condition matters too. If your 1979 D quarter is in pristine condition, what collectors call mint state, you're looking at serious money. Even a coin without errors but in perfect condition can fetch hundreds of dollars. Pro tip, check your coins with a magnifying glass and good lighting. The devil's in the details. You're probably wondering, okay, so what's the current market value? Well, here's the scoop. A regular 1979 D quarter might only be worth face value, but if you've got one with errors or in top-notch condition, it can range from a few hundred to a few $1,000s. And if you're one of the extremely lucky ones with a highly coveted error, you could be looking at bids that soar into the millions. Yes, millions. It's like winning the coin lottery. So, the next time you're sorting through your change, don't just glance at it. Take a closer look. Your ticket to a big payday might be jingling in your pocket right now. And hey, if you've got a 1979 D Washington quarter, drop a comment below and let us know. Who knows, you might be sitting on a fortune. But what if I told you that your average-looking 1981 Washington quarter could be worth millions? Yep, you heard that right, millions. So, grab your loose change and let's dive into the fascinating story of the 1981 P Washington quarter that's making waves in the coin collecting world. Spoiler alert, you might want to double-check your junk drawer after this. The 1981 P Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, and at first glance, it looks like your typical 25-cent piece. But here's where things get interesting. Some of these quarters have rare errors or anomalies that make them incredibly valuable to collectors. Think of it like finding a typo in a first-edition Harry Potter book, a mistake that makes it worth a fortune. One of the most sought-after features on the 1981 P quarter is what collectors call the double die obverse. It's when the coin's design is slightly duplicated, creating a ghost-like effect on George Washington's face or the lettering. If you spot one of these, congratulations, you've hit the jackpot. And by jackpot, I mean potentially millions of dollars at auction. Now, you might be thinking, yeah, but what are the odds I have one of these rare coins? Honestly, pretty slim. But hey, someone's got to find them, right? It's like winning the lottery without even buying a ticket. Here's a quick story. A few years ago, my cousin was clearing out an old piggy bank. He came across a 1981 quarter and was about to toss it in the Coinstar machine. But he'd recently watched one of my videos and decided to take a closer look. Lo and behold, it had a slight doubling on the date. He ended up selling it for thousands of dollars. True story. And now he always calls me before cashing in his change. But it's not just the errors that can make these coins valuable. The condition of the coin plays a huge role too. If you've got a 1981 P quarter in mint state, meaning it looks as fresh as the day it was struck, you're in luck. Grading services like PCGS or NGC can authenticate and grade your coin, and if it's top-notch, collectors will pay big bucks for it. I'm talking thousands, even tens of thousands, depending on the rarity and demand. You might wonder why anyone would pay so much for a quarter. Well, collectors are a passionate bunch. For them, it's not just about the monetary value but the story, the history, and the thrill of owning something unique. Plus, let's be real, who wouldn't want to brag about owning $1 million quarter? So, what's the takeaway here? Don't overlook your pocket change. That unassuming 1981 P Washington quarter in your hand might just be the golden ticket to a financial windfall. Take a few minutes to check for any unusual features, doubling, mint errors, or even pristine condition, and who knows, you could be sitting on a fortune. Yes, you heard that right, a simple quarter from your pocket change could be worth a fortune. But before you start tearing apart your couch cushions, stick around because I'm going to tell you why this coin is so valuable and how you can spot one. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. First, let's talk about the 1983 P Washington quarter itself. This isn't just any ordinary coin. Back in 1983, something pretty unique happened. The US Mint didn't produce any mint sets that year. So, the coins that were released into circulation took all the wear and tear of daily use. That means finding one in pristine condition today is like finding a needle in a haystack. Now, here's the kicker. If you happen to find a 1983 P quarter in mint state, especially one graded MS67 or higher by a reputable grading company like PCGS or NGC, you're looking at a coin worth thousands, possibly even $1 million. No joke. In fact, one of these coins sold for over $7,000 at auction, and that was years ago. With the rising interest in numismatics, who knows what it could fetch today? Let me share a little story. A few years ago, I was helping my neighbor clear out her attic. She had this old coffee can filled with loose change. I'm talking decades worth of pennies, nickels, dimes, you name it. As I'm sifting through the coins, there it was, a 1983 p quarter. My heart skipped a beat. Was this my ticket to an early retirement? Sadly, no. It had too much wear, and the grading wouldn't have been high enough to fetch big bucks. But it's moments like that when you realize these coins are out there, just waiting to be found. So, how do you know if you've got a valuable one? Here are a few tips. Look for coins with little to no wear. If it looks shiny and new, you might be onto something. Some 1983 p quarters have minting errors, like double dies or off-center strikes, which can skyrocket their value. If you think you found a gem, send it to a professional grading service. They'll confirm its condition and authenticity, which is crucial for selling at a high price. Don't go spending hours examining every single coin in your change jar. Focus on rolls of quarters or old collections where there's a better chance of finding something special. So there you have it, the fascinating world of the 1983 p Washington quarter and why it's such a big deal. Who knew something as small as a quarter could make such a massive impact on your bank account? Before you run off to hunt for hidden treasure, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tips and tricks coming your way about coins that could change your life. And hey, if you've ever found a rare coin or have a collection story to share, drop it in the comments below. Let's turn this community into the ultimate treasure hunting team. What if I told you that a simple coin sitting in your pocket change could be worth $1 million? Sounds wild, right? Well, grab a cup of coffee and hold on to your hats because today we're diving into the world of the 1985 D Washington quarter. Yes, that little quarter might just make you a millionaire, if the stars align. Let's break it down, and who knows? You might be richer than you think. So, let's talk about the 1985 D Washington quarter. First, a quick history lesson. These coins were minted in Denver, hence the little D under George Washington's portrait. Over 519 million of these were struck that year, which might make you think they're a dime a dozen, or a quarter a dozen. Anyway, here's the twist. Not all quarters are created equal. The reason this specific quarter can be worth so much boils down to a rare minting error. Some 1985 D quarters left the mint with an off-center strike, doubling on the lettering, or, and this is the jackpot, a misprint so unique that collectors are willing to throw down serious cash. How serious? Let's just say, life-changing money, serious. But wait, don't go tearing apart your couch cushions just yet. The $1 million 1985 D isn't something you'll find in every spare change jar. To hit that kind of value, the coin needs to be in pristine condition, graded as MS 68 or higher. That's mint state perfection, my friends. Think of it as a coin that's never seen the inside of a vending machine. Quick story time. A few years ago, I was sorting through a box of coins my grandma had saved, you know, the classic cookie tin full of random change. I wasn't expecting much, maybe a cool penny or two, but then I saw a shiny 1985 D quarter. My heart skipped a beat. Could this be the one? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But hey, it was a fun afternoon, and I learned a ton about coins in the process. Plus, Grandma got a kick out of it. Back to the $1 million question, how do you know if your 1985 D quarter is worth a fortune? First, grab a magnifying glass or even your phone's camera with a zoom lens. Check for those rare errors, the off-center strikes, doubling, or any other quirks. Then, check the condition. Is it shiny and flawless, or does it look like it survived a round in a washing machine? If you think you've got something special, send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC to get it certified. That's your ticket to the big leagues. Now, let's talk market value. A typical 1985 D quarter in circulated condition is worth, drumroll, about 25 cents. Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble. But if you've got one of those rare, mint-condition beauties, auction houses could value it anywhere from a few $1,000s to, in some rare cases, that magical $1 million mark. It's like winning the lottery, but with more history and less scratching. So, there you have it. The 1985 D Washington quarter might just be your ticket to a millionaire's club, or at least a fun story to share at your next family dinner. Either way, it's proof that paying attention to the small stuff can really pay off, literally. You spot a 1988 P Washington quarter. What if I told you that little 25-cent piece could actually be worth millions? Yep, millions. So, hold on to your hats, and your quarters, because today we're diving into the crazy world of valuable coins and why this specific quarter might just make you a millionaire. The 1988 P Washington quarter is pretty standard on the surface. It was minted in Philadelphia, hence the little P mint mark. Most of these quarters are worth, well, 25 cents. But there are some exceptions, and that's where it gets exciting. The reason some of these quarters are so valuable comes down to minting errors and rare varieties. Picture this, it's 1988, and the mint is cranking out quarters like there's no tomorrow. But maybe a worker is a little distracted, dreaming about their weekend plans, and bam. A die misalignment happens, or an overstruck coin is created. These errors make the coin unique, and collectors go wild for them. Now, let's talk about one of the most famous cases. A few years back, someone found a 1988 P quarter with a double die error. What's a double die, you ask? It's when the coin's design is accidentally stamped twice, creating a slightly blurry or shadowed look on the lettering or imagery. It's like the coin's version of a bad photo edit, but collectors see it as pure gold. Well, silver in this case. These rare error coins have been known to fetch insane prices at auctions. We're talking 6, 7, even 8 figures. In fact, a double die 1988 P quarter recently sold for over $1 million. Not bad for a coin you might have used to pay for parking, huh? Now, let me tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was at a flea market, you know, those places where you find everything from vintage records to questionable hot dogs. I stumbled upon a jar of old coins. Just for kicks, I bought it for $5. When I got home, I sifted through it and found a 1988 P quarter. At first, I thought, cool, a quarter. But then I took a closer look and saw some weird doubling on the letters. My heart skipped a beat. Long story short, it wasn't the $1 million kind, but I still sold it for $300. Not bad for a $5 investment, right? So, how can you spot one of these jackpot coins? First, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look closely at the lettering, the date, and Washington's profile. If you see any doubling, misalignments, or other oddities, you might just have something special. Next, check the coin's condition. A pristine coin is worth way more than one that looks like it's been through a garbage disposal. Finally, get it authenticated by a professional grading service. They'll give you the thumbs up or down, and help you figure out its real value. So, the next time you're emptying your pockets or rating your couch cushions, keep an eye out for that 1988 P Washington quarter. Who knows? It might just be your ticket to early retirement. And if you found today's video helpful or even a little entertaining, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Join our community of coin enthusiasts, and let's uncover more treasures together. Thanks for watching, and remember, every coin tells a story, and some stories are worth a fortune. See you next time. We're diving into a coin that might just make you do a double take next time you're rummaging through your loose change. Imagine this, a humble 1989 P Washington quarter dollar, casually chilling in your pocket, could be worth millions. Yes, you heard that right, millions. If that doesn't make you want to check your couch cushions, I don't know what will. So, grab your magnifying glass and let's talk about what makes this quarter so special. But first, let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, I found myself at a garage sale. I'd gone to buy a lamp, but instead, I left with an old jar of coins. Long story short, while sorting through the jar, I found a 1989 quarter. My heart skipped a beat. Could this be the jackpot? Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But hey, the hunt continues, right? Okay, let's get into it. The 1989 Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, hence the P mint mark. Now, normally, these coins are worth their face value, 25 cents. But there's always an exception to the rule, and that's where this story gets exciting. What makes certain 1989 quarters so valuable? It's all about rarity and condition. A perfect example is a high-grade coin with no scratches, dings, or discoloration. Coin collectors, or numismatists if you want to get fancy, are willing to pay top dollar for coins in mint state condition. And by top dollar, I mean they've been known to shell out hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars for the rarest finds. If your quarter looks like it just rolled out of the mint and into your hand, you might be sitting on a small fortune. Certain 1989 quarters have minting errors, like double dies or off-center strikes. These errors make them incredibly unique and highly sought after by collectors. Picture it like this: your coin is the quirky one at the coin party, and everyone wants to hang out with it. These are specially made for collectors and often have a mirror-like finish. If you have one, you've hit a small gold mine, well, silver mine, but you get the idea. In recent auctions, rare 1989 quarters have fetched staggering prices. One sold for over $100,000, and another with a significant mint error was valued in the millions. Why? Because these coins are like the unicorns of the coin world, rare, magical, and highly desirable. So, how do you find one? Start by checking your spare change, those old jars of coins, or even ask your friends and family if they have any 1989 quarters lying around. You never know, one man's quarter is another man's ticket to early retirement. If you think you found a valuable coin, don't clean it. Seriously, put the soap and water down. Cleaning a coin can reduce its value faster than you can say, numismatic. Instead, take it to a professional coin appraiser or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. Before we wrap up, let's circle back to my garage sale story. While my 1989 quarter turned out to be just an ordinary coin, the experience taught me something valuable. You never know what treasures are hiding in plain sight. The thrill of the hunt is half the fun, and who knows? Maybe your next find will be the real deal. Alright, that's it for today's coin adventure. 1994 Washington quarter, just another ordinary coin, right? Wrong. That little piece of change might just be worth $1 million. Yep, you heard that right, $1 million. Stick around because today we're diving into the surprising world of the 1994 Washington quarter and why it's got collectors going bananas. The 1994 Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, hence the P. Now, at first glance, it looks like any other quarter you toss into a vending machine for a bag of chips. But there's more to this coin than meets the eye. The real kicker. A select few of these quarters were struck with an extraordinary error. It's what collectors call a die variety, which basically means something went haywire during the minting process. These errors can include double dies, off-center strikes, or even some funky lettering. And in the case of the 1994 quarter, one particular error coin sold for a jaw-dropping $1 million. Yes, $1 million. Now, here's where it gets juicy. These errors are super rare, and spotting one is like finding a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but for grown-ups who love shiny stuff. You'll need to whip out a magnifying glass and look closely at the coin. Pay attention to details like the date, the lettering, and the edges. If something looks off, you could be holding a fortune in your hands. Let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, I was cleaning out my car, you know, the kind of clean where you find stale fries under the seat and random coins everywhere. I stumbled across a few quarters and decided to check them out because, well, you never know. One of them turned out to be from 1994, and I nearly had a heart attack. I spent the next hour squinting at it under a desk lamp, convinced I'd found the holy grail of coins. Spoiler alert, it wasn't worth $1 million, but it did lead me down a rabbit hole of learning about valuable quarters. And hey, I've been hooked ever since. Now, you might be wondering, what makes these error coins so valuable? The short answer is supply and demand. Coin collectors, also known as numismatists, are willing to shell out big bucks for rare finds to complete their collections. Combine that with the sheer rarity of a mint error, and you've got yourself a recipe for skyrocketing value. And here's a pro tip: if you think you found a valuable coin, don't just toss it in a jar with your loose change. Handle it carefully, store it in a protective case, and get it authenticated by a professional. Trust me, nothing's worse than finding out you accidentally spent $1 million coin on a cup of coffee. So, there you have it, the incredible story of the 1994 P. Washington quarter that's got collectors losing their minds. Who knew that pocket change could turn into life-changing money? If this video has you itching to check your spare change, grab a magnifying glass and get to work. And hey, if you've got a coin story of your own, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tips and tricks on coins worth big money, and you won't want to miss out. You find a 1994 P. Washington quarter, just another ordinary coin, right? Wrong. That little piece of change might just be worth $1 million. Yep, you heard that right, $1 million. Stick around because today we're diving into the surprising world of the 1994 P. Washington quarter and why it's got collectors going bananas. The 1994 P. Washington quarter was minted in Philadelphia, hence the P. Now, at first glance, it looks like any other quarter you'd toss into a vending machine for a bag of chips. But there's more to this coin than meets the eye. The real kicker. A select few of these quarters were struck with an extraordinary error. It's what collectors call a die variety, which basically means something went haywire during the minting process. These errors can include double dies, off-center strikes, or even some funky lettering. And in the case of the 1994 P quarter, one particular error coin sold for a jaw-dropping $1 million. Yes, $1 million. Now, here's where it gets juicy. These errors are super rare, and spotting one is like finding a golden ticket to Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but for grown-ups who love shiny stuff. You'll need to whip out a magnifying glass and look closely at the coin. Pay attention to details like the date, the lettering, and the edges. If something looks off, you could be holding a fortune in your hands. Let me tell you a quick story. A few months ago, I was cleaning out my car, you know, the kind of clean where you find stale fries under the seat and random coins everywhere. I stumbled across a few quarters and decided to check them out because, well, you never know. One of them turned out to be from 1994, and I nearly had a heart attack. I spent the next hour squinting at it under a desk lamp, convinced I'd found the holy grail of coins. Spoiler alert, it wasn't worth $1 million, but it did lead me down a rabbit hole of learning about valuable quarters. And hey, I've been hooked ever since. Now, you might be wondering, what makes these error coins so valuable? The short answer is supply and demand. Coin collectors, also known as numismatists, are willing to shell out big bucks for rare finds to complete their collections. Combine that with the sheer rarity of a mint error, and you've got yourself a recipe for skyrocketing value. And here's a pro tip: if you think you found a valuable coin, don't just toss it in a jar with your loose change. Handle it carefully, store it in a protective case, and get it authenticated by a professional. Trust me, nothing's worse than finding out you accidentally spent $1 million coin on a cup of coffee. So, there you have it, the incredible story of the 1994 P. Washington quarter that's got collectors losing their minds. Who knew that pocket change could turn into life-changing money? If this video has you itching to check your spare change, grab a magnifying glass and get to work. And hey, if you've got a coin story of your own, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I've got plenty more tips and tricks on coins worth big money, and you won't want to miss out. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. May your pockets be filled with treasure.
Hey there, coin lovers. You ever look at your spare change and think, could this little coin be worth a fortune? I mean, who doesn't love finding a hidden gem in their wallet or piggy bank? Well, today's coin is a real showstopper, the 1960 Washington quarter. And trust me, if you've got one sitting around, you might just want to keep watching. Spoiler alert, it could be worth $2 million. Yeah, you heard that right. So, buckle up, because we're diving into the world of rare coins, and I'm about to blow your mind. Now, let's talk about this little beauty, the 1960 Washington quarter. For most of us, quarters are just quarters. You toss them in your change jar, maybe use them to buy a pack of gum or pay the meter. But what if I told you that the 1960 Washington quarter could potentially fetch a lot more than the 25 cents it's stamped with? Here's the deal. The 1960 quarter, like many coins, was minted in huge numbers. In fact, nearly 80 million were made that year. So you might be thinking, okay, I've probably got 1 million of these in my change jar. What's the big deal? Well, here's where it gets interesting. While most of those 1960 quarters are worth just a couple of bucks, some of them, and I mean some, have a value that can reach up to $2 million. You might be sitting there like, no way! How does that happen? It all comes down to something called mint errors. You see, some of the 1960 quarters had errors in their production, missing details, weird die cracks, or even misprints. These error coins are super rare, and when they pop up on the market, collectors go wild. We're talking about serious bidding wars. Now, let me share a quick story with you. A while back, I was at a local coin show, just casually browsing, when I overheard a guy talking about how he found a coin in his change jar, a 1960 Washington quarter. The way he was talking about it, you'd think it was just another normal quarter. I mean, come on, who hasn't grabbed a coin out of their pocket and thought it was just a regular one? But this guy's quarter? Well, after a quick inspection, it turned out to be one of those rare, error-prone 1960s. Fast forward, and he was looking at a 6-figure offer. Talk about a lucky day, right? So here's the thing. It's not just about having a 1960 quarter, it's about having the right 1960 quarter. And that's where it gets fun. If you're looking to cash in, you've got to get your hands on a coin that's got something special, an error, a misprint, something that makes it stand out from the sea of regular old quarters. Now, how can you tell if your 1960 Washington quarter is one of these rare gems? First off, take a good look at the details. Check for any weird wear and tear, missing or doubled features, or any odd marks on the coin. Don't forget to check the mint mark too. Those little letters on the coin can make a big difference in value. Some of the best examples come from coins minted in Denver, D, or Philadelphia, P, though there are others out there. But hey, don't panic if you don't spot anything obvious. Even minor errors, like a tiny crack in the die, can add thousands to the coin's value. The key here is to really look at your coins closely and get them checked by a professional if you think there might be something unusual going on. So, in a nutshell, that little 1960 Washington quarter could be sitting on a potential goldmine. Who would have thought, right? And don't be fooled. There are so many coins out there with hidden value just waiting to be discovered. You just need to know where to look. But here's the thing. Whether you're hunting for rare quarters or just getting started with coin collecting, you're going to need tips and tricks to navigate this crazy world. And lucky for you, I've got you covered. If you want more insider knowledge on valuable coins and strategies for finding them, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Don't miss out on any of the coin treasure hunts we're going to take together. Plus, I've got some juicy content coming up that you won't want to miss. Trust me, your wallet will thank you. Let me hit you with a crazy fact. Did you know there's a 1961 Washington quarter that's worth a jaw-dropping $1.9 million? Yep, you heard that right. Almost $2 million for a coin that's more than 60 years old. And I bet you've got a few of these hiding in your change jar, right? Stick around, because in the next few minutes, we're going to dig into the value of this elusive 1961 Washington quarter, how it got so valuable, and how you might just find one yourself. It's time to break out those old coins, folks. This is one you don't want to miss. First off, let's talk about the 1961 Washington quarter itself. For the most part, 1961 quarters are pretty typical. They're made of 90% silver and 10% copper, which is standard for quarters produced from 1932 to 1964. You've probably seen one of these in your pocket, or maybe you've got one lying around in a drawer somewhere. But not all 1961 quarters are created equal. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The rare ones, the ones that could get you a cool $1.9 million, aren't just sitting in any old coin jar. They're the ones that were struck with a misplaced mint mark. That's right. Some of these quarters were supposed to be minted in Denver with a D mint mark, but instead, they ended up with a mint mark from San Francisco, S. And what does that mean? It means the coin became a rare error coin, something collectors are eager to get their hands on. These coins, which are known as the 1961 D/S Washington quarters, were struck with the wrong mint mark, a mistake that makes them super valuable. And by super valuable, I mean $1.9 million kind of valuable. Not a typo, that's real money. But of course, not every 1961 quarter is a winner. The ones with a mistaken mint mark are what's going to have collectors in a frenzy. So how can you spot one? Here's a little pro tip. The mint mark on these quarters isn't the only thing to look out for. You'll also want to check the overall quality of the coin. Is it in good condition? The more pristine the coin, the more you could sell it for. A mint-quality 1961 D/S Washington quarter could sell for over $100,000, while a less-than-perfect one might still fetch a few $1,000s. But if you've got one of those high-quality gems, get ready to make a serious profit. So how do I know all this? Well, I'll let you in on a little secret. A while back, I was going through my own coin collection, just casually flipping through some old quarters from the 1960s. You know, nothing too exciting. I was mostly looking for silver content to see if I could make a quick buck at a local coin shop. But then, I found something that caught my eye. It wasn't a 1961 D/S quarter, unfortunately, but it was a coin that was definitely worth more than I thought. I walked into the shop, showed it to the owner, and let's just say my jaw dropped when he gave me an offer. That experience taught me to always double-check my coins before I toss them in a jar. You never know when you might be sitting on a small fortune. All right, here's the deal. If you find yourself with a 1961 quarter, don't just toss it aside. Take a good look, and if you spot that elusive Denver over San Francisco mint mark, you might just be holding a $1.9 million coin in your hand. And even if it's not that rare, there are still plenty of other valuable coins out there just waiting to be discovered. Now, if you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins, uncover rare finds, and turn your change into cash, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm here to help you on your coin hunting journey, and I promise, the next time you find a quarter, you'll be a lot more excited about it. Ever heard the story of the quarter that went from your pocket change to a cool $1.7 million? Sounds like a wild dream, right? Well, it's actually real, and it's sitting right under your nose. Today, we're talking about the 1962 Washington quarter, not just any quarter, but one that could be worth a fortune. You won't believe the twist this simple coin took to become one of the most valuable pieces of U.S. currency. Stick around. I'll explain how a coin worth 25 cents could end up with a price tag in the millions. And hey, if you're already dreaming of your next $1,000,000 coin find, don't forget to hit that subscribe button because this channel is all about helping you cash in on rare finds. The 1962 Washington quarter might look like your everyday change until you get up close and personal. So what makes it so special? Well, the 1962 quarter wasn't just minted like the others. There's a small group of them that were struck with a major minting error, and it's these specific coins that are worth the big bucks. Now, before we dive into the details, let me take you back to a story. A few years ago, I was sorting through some old coins I had stashed away in a shoebox. I know, classic mistake. I found a 1962 quarter sitting there, probably from some pocket change I picked up at a diner. At first, I didn't even give it a second glance. I almost tossed it aside like it was just another coin, but something told me to hold on to it. Maybe it was the way it caught the light, or maybe I just had one of those gut feelings, and I'm so glad I did. Turns out, that little quarter could have been worth thousands. It's like a treasure hunt right in your own home. So, why are some 1962 Washington quarters worth so much? Let's talk about the errors that make them so valuable. The key here is the double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a double image. So, instead of a crisp, clean design, you'll see some doubled letters or numbers, like the word Liberty or In God We Trust. When that happens, the coin becomes a rare find. Collectors go crazy for coins with these kinds of errors, and the rarer the error, the higher the price tag. But wait, here's the kicker. Some of these coins, especially the ones in mint condition, have been sold for as much as $1.7 million at auction. Yes, you heard that right. That's not a typo. One lucky collector walked away with a quarter worth more than most people's entire houses. You can imagine the look on their face when they realized they were sitting on a gold mine of coins. Or should I say, silver mine? Now, let's talk about how you can spot a potential 1962 Washington quarter worth thousands. The first thing you'll want to do is check for the double die error. This is usually found in the lettering, but sometimes even the details of Washington's hair can have the double impression. Also, look for any unusual wear and tear. These coins, especially the rare ones, tend to be in mint or near mint condition. The better condition it's in, the more you're looking at. Also, don't just rely on your eyes. If you really want to know if your 1962 Washington quarter is worth a fortune, consider getting it professionally graded. There are companies out there that will assess the condition and authenticity of your coins and give them a grade. The higher the grade, the more money you can expect to make when you sell it.so. There you have it. A simple 1962 Washington quarter could make you a millionaire if you know what to look for. And remember, not all quarters are created equal. The ones with minting errors are the ones that'll make your wallet explode with joy. So, you've probably got a few coins laying around the house, right? Some might be buried in your couch cushions or tucked away in a dusty drawer, and you're thinking, yeah, they're just a bunch of old change. Probably worth nothing. But what if I told you that one particular coin from 1963 could be worth over $1 million today? Yup, you heard me right. A single 1963 Washington quarter dollar could be worth up to $1.50 million. I know what you're thinking. I must be hearing things. But trust me, it's true. So, if you've got one of these coins hidden somewhere, maybe in your piggy bank, your grandma's old coin jar, or just mixed in with some other coins, stick around because we're about to break it down for you. First off, let's get the basics out of the way. The 1963 Washington quarter dollar is pretty common in circulation. You probably see them all the time. Unless, of course, you're one of those people who just throw their change into a jar and forget about it. If that's you, no judgment, I'm guilty too. But here's the thing. Not all 1963 Washington quarters are created equal. Some are worth next to nothing, while others can fetch a small fortune. So, what makes a 1963 Washington quarter special? It's all about the condition and whether it's a rare variety. See, most 1963 quarters are just your run-of-the-mill, average coins. They were mass-produced, and unless you happen to have one that's in mint condition or has an error, like a double die or something wacky, then it's not going to be worth much. But here's where things get interesting. Some 1963 quarters were accidentally made with major errors. This includes coins with unusual minting mistakes, which can make them worth an insane amount of money. For example, if you find a 1963 quarter that's been misstruck, you could be looking at something worth over $1.5 million. I know, it's crazy. Imagine stumbling across one of these in a jar of old coins you've been ignoring for years. You could go from meh to millionaire overnight. Now, before you go running off to your coin jar to check, let's talk about how to spot these rare coins. First, you'll want to check for any doubling on the lettering or date on the coin. This is a sign of a double die, which happens during the minting process when the die doesn't align properly. It's subtle, but if you look closely, you might spot it. Another thing to watch for is a coin that looks super shiny or has details that appear almost too crisp. A 1963 quarter in mint state, meaning it's basically flawless, can be worth significantly more than one that's been worn down by years of use. That's why condition matters so much. And if you're still wondering how this can really hit a $1.5 million price tag, the secret lies in the combination of rarity, the condition of the coin, and a collector's demand for that specific error. There are only a few of these error coins in existence, so if you've got one, you've got yourself a golden ticket to some serious cash. Imagine showing up at a coin auction with a 1963 Washington quarter in your pocket and walking away with a check for $1 million. That's like finding out your old lunchbox is actually worth more than your car. It's insane. I'll be honest. I once found a coin in my own collection that I thought was just a regular old quarter. I tossed it in a jar along with all the other change, completely ignoring it for months. One day, a friend of mine, who's a serious coin collector, came over and just about had a heart attack when he saw it. Turns out, it was a rare 1950s quarter with a mint error, and it was worth hundreds of dollars. I was like, wait, what? I nearly fell off my chair. The moral of the story? Don't ignore your change. That boring coin could be your ticket to a small fortune. So, whether you're scouring your old change jar, hitting up coin shops, or just browsing your local flea market, always remember that coins from the 1960s, like that 1963 Washington quarter, might be hiding a hidden treasure worth a lot more than you think. I mean, $1.5 million for a single quarter? That's not just a win. That's life-changing. Before you go digging through your drawers, make sure you hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. We've got plenty more tips on valuable coins, how to spot them, and even how to sell them for top dollar. Don't miss out on the chance to learn how to turn your loose change into serious cash. Stay tuned for more, and who knows? The next coin you find could be your ticket to the big time. 1964 Washington quarter dollar floating around. You might want to double-check that pocket change. Why? Because that quarter could be worth up to $1.3 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.3 million. Now, I know what you're thinking. How in the world does a 1964 quarter turn into $1 million coin? Stick around because we're about to dive into the crazy world of rare coins, and trust me, it's going to be a lot more fun than you'd expect. You're probably familiar with the Washington quarter, right? It's got that classic design, George Washington's face on the front, with an eagle on the back. But did you know that 1964 is a special year for these quarters? Not because of some big historical event or celebration, but because a small batch of them were minted with a pretty rare mistake. And by small, I mean really small. Here's the deal. The standard 1964 Washington quarters were supposed to be made with 90% silver and 10% copper, which is typical for the time. But, in some rare cases, a small number of these coins were accidentally minted with a higher percentage of silver, about 99% silver. This tiny difference made them ultra-rare, and as you can probably guess, ultra-rare coins tend to be worth a whole lot more than your average change. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. Okay, so I have a 1964 quarter in my jar of loose change. How can I tell if it's one of these $1,000,000 ones? Great question. First off, if your coin doesn't look like it's made of pure silver, and it has that classic silver-gray appearance of most quarters, it's probably just a standard 1964 Washington quarter, which is worth, well, about $5 to $6 if you're lucky. But if it looks shinier, almost like a mirror finish, or has a different tint, it could be one of the rare high silver versions. Take it to a coin appraiser to be sure. Let me tell you a little story from my own coin hunting adventures. A couple of years ago, I was digging through a box of old change that I'd been collecting from random places, like my grandma's house, a flea market, and even a few random trips to the grocery store. I figured, hey, maybe there's something valuable in here, you never know. So, I went through a pile of quarters, and wouldn't you know it, I found a 1964 Washington quarter that looked a little shinier than the others. I thought, this could be something. I didn't think it was worth $1,000,000, but it definitely piqued my interest. Turns out, it was just a regular one. Not a $1.3 million coin, but hey, it was still worth more than what I paid for the soda I grabbed that day. Moral of the story: you never know until you check. But here's the thing, folks, even if you don't have that $1,000,000 1964 quarter, you could still have other rare coins in your collection worth a lot more than you think. This is why I always tell people to keep an eye out for anything out of the ordinary, especially with coins from the 1960s and earlier. Coins with errors, or even slight misprints, can fetch a pretty penny. So, always check your change. Seriously. And if you're thinking, but how do I even get started with this whole coin collecting thing? Don't worry. It's easier than you think, and I've got plenty more tips coming your way in future videos. From how to spot rare coins to strategies for flipping them for a profit, I've got you covered. So, to wrap up, if you've got a 1964 Washington quarter, take a moment to check its condition. If it's one of the rare high silver versions, you could be sitting on a serious fortune, $1.3 million to be exact. Even if it's not worth that much, who knows? You might have other valuable coins hiding in that jar of change. And trust me, I've been there. It's worth the effort to find out. Do you ever find yourself flipping through old coins and thinking, what if this one is worth $1,000,000? Well, today we might just make the day happen for you. I'm talking about the 1965 Washington $quarter coin, which, believe it or not, could be worth up to a cool $1,000,000. Yes, you heard me right, $1,000,000. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. A quarter? Come on, that's just pocket change. But trust me, there's more to this shiny little coin than meets the eye. Stick around, because I'm going to break it all down for you and share how you can spot a quarter worth a fortune. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. So, why is this particular 1965 Washington quarter so special? You see, in 1965, the U.S. Mint made a pretty big mistake. A mistake that's now making people a lot of money. In case you didn't know, 1965 was a big year for change in the coin world. The U.S. government switched up the metal composition of its quarters, moving from 90% silver to a much cheaper mix of copper and nickel. But in the middle of all this, some very rare 1965 quarters slipped through the cracks. A small number were accidentally struck using silver blanks instead of the new copper-nickel ones. These silver error quarters are the ones that can fetch you up to $1 million on a good day. Now, you might be asking, how do I spot one of these silver error quarters? Well, it's actually pretty easy once you know what to look for. First, check the weight. A standard 1965 quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams, but a silver one is slightly heavier, around 6.25 grams. So, if you've got a scale lying around, grab it and test that quarter you found in your change jar. If it's a little bit heavier, congratulations, you might just be holding onto a small fortune. Next, look for the silver shine. While regular 1965 quarters will look like your typical dull, coppery coin, the silver error ones will have that distinct, shiny, silvery luster that you'd expect from a coin made of silver. If your quarter gleams like a shiny new dime, there's a good chance it's worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. But here's the thing, finding one of these silver error quarters is super rare. In fact, they're so rare that they're worth a lot more than just their silver content. The collectors, who are actively searching for these coins, are willing to pay top dollar for them. A well-preserved silver error 1965 Washington quarter can easily hit the market for anywhere from $10,000 to $1 million. Yes, you read that right, $1 million. All from a quarter. Insane, right? I know, it sounds too good to be true, but I've seen it happen. In fact, I had a personal experience a while ago when I was at a local flea market. There was this old guy selling a box of loose change. I nearly passed it up because, well, it just looked like a bunch of junk coins. But for some reason, I picked up a random 1965 quarter and tossed it into my bag. Didn't think much of it. Fast forward to a few months later, I'm sorting through my coins, as one does when you've got a slight obsession with old change, and I noticed the 1965 quarter looked a little shinier. So I weighed it. Sure enough, it was heavier than a normal quarter. I did a little digging, and guess what? It was one of those silver error coins. Now, I'm not saying I got $1 million for it yet, but that coin? It definitely added a nice little chunk to my savings. Moral of the story: you never know what hidden treasure might be lurking in that jar of change, so always double-check your quarters. You could be sitting on a gold mine, or in this case, a silver mine.so. There you have it, folks. The 1965 Washington $quarter coin is one to watch for if you're a coin collector, or if you just happen to be casually searching through your spare change. Don't let a potential $1 million coin slip through your fingers. But hey, don't just stop here. There are so many more coins out there that could be worth big money, and I'll be showing you how to spot them in future videos. If you want to stay on top of these rare coin finds, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a tip on coins worth cash. And hey, if you found a rare coin or have a story like mine, drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear all about your treasure hunts. Until next time, happy hunting, and remember, one man's pocket change is another man's gold mine.